guys. Good morning, guys. I feel like I passed 7 days, so that is going to start to form a new habit. To start a new habit, I need 21 day. Yeah, I think I'm starting now. Is you guys see like 4. Oh my god. 4 gear, 2 minutes. Okay, let me keep my settings for like YouTube from YouTube. Like yesterday I said you guys like I found out one amazing SATs videos, and then yesterday I was watching for whole days, but it didn't finish at all. That's why I would like to keep them today, because uh because why I don't do other thing at first, because I'm a really poor at SAT English. I want to say English, so I have to prioritize to my all the things to like English for this math, because I have a two math, this math and next math. So I believe that for the things for the math, you can see that if you practice more and more, so you can get more and more. So more practice, more score you get. But for English, I don't know and what is the keys and what is the factor that I can get. Okay, so because like for my IS, I struggles a lot for reading and also like listening and others. But for writing, even though I knew that like writing is a kind of the really heavy one for all IS student, but I write one or two uh, I write one essay before a math, and then I write two like essays per days, and not I mean like yeah, I write one essay per day before a math, and I write two essays for less math. You know, like, bet you guys notice that or not. I get Ben school sick. Oh my god. All the like all the schools are like sick, and then listening is 5 is so sad. You know, like when I started to like people IS, I took some IS test. In that time, I got like kind of 7.5 of 7 or like almost yeah. It's when 7.5 is will be 3 or 4 months before IS test. But in real exam, in real test, I got what 5.5? What that? Yeah. So I don't know like exactly what is the key and then what is the main that I can improve my English skills, especially reading. I don't really know about exactly for this one. That's why I would like to focus on my English for SATs. Are you going to do this? I was always giving my time to English. So if I study 2 hours for math, I study like a 4 hour for English, like that. So I'm really giving my time to English. I'm happy to give it, because I believe that also can uh, help out to me when I attend the university or something like that. Yeah. Should not be taken. Okay, let me keep on here. I also need glasses. If I like kind of study with computer a lot. The radiations can hurt my eye, that's why I need it. You know, like when I watch these videos, this is 8 hour and 15 minutes. I need to take it like that. So when I watch it, I really would like to take the SAT English test. I have never had like those kind of feelings. I don't would like to take a SAT test without no reason. But with no reason, I'm like, but when I watch it and then when I'm studying for this video, I think, oh my god, I would like to try, I would like to test this, and I would like to take it. I got like those kind of things. I don't know, like, this only things I think, and then this video gave me those kind of feeling. That is nothing special, but here he gave a lot of hack for SATs. Yes, that's why I really would like to keep on this videos right now. I need to read. I need to wait for 2 hours and 45 minutes because like this total minute is 8 hours and 50 minutes for SAT, for whole SAT. That's why I have to watch it till the end, and then after this I will like record some of my SAT practice tests on Blue Book, and then yeah, I have to do that. Okay, so guys, I have to start. I don't would like to talk to any more you guys because I need to focus on my test.
Is realistic? Yes, that's exactly my prediction. And honestly, I would probably just circle this and be done with it. But if you weren't feeling confident, you definitely want to eliminate all your answers. Dutch painters may have depicted foods for symbolic reasons. No. So there you go. The lamp method is still holding up. Let's see if it can hold up to a hard question. Round 3. Alright, we've got a hard question here. Again, I encourage you to pause the video, see if the lamp works for you. This one is only talking about 2011, so I can get rid of it. C, no turbines installed in 2011 had rotor diameters greater than 115 meters, whereas the majority of turbines installed in 2021 had rotor diameters greater than 130 meters. So that one could also work because we see the smaller diameters in 2011 compared to the larger ones in 2021, which again means more energy. And at this point, we know we're actually going to end up going to step 4 and look at the graph. So I'm going to actually pull it up right now and see if I can eliminate answer A or answer C. And again, at this point, we're just seeing if the claims are actually true according to the graph. So A is saying the percentage of newly installed turbines with rotor diameters greater than 130 increased every year between 2011 and 2021. Let's see if that's true. And remember, it said greater than 130 meters, so we're looking at this triangle, and immediately we can see it did not increase every year. It remained pretty stagnant until 2018, so we can get rid of A now. And then C, no turbines installed in 2011 had rotor diameters greater than 115, whereas the majority of turbines installed in 2021 had a rotor diameters greater than 130 meters. All right, let's see if that's true. So the first claim was that no turbines from 2011 had greater than 115 meters. If we go to 2011, that is true because we have 100 to 115 meters, so not greater than 115. And then here we have less than 100 meters, also not greater than 115. So the first part of that is true. And then the second part said the majority in 2021 had diameters greater than 130. Remember, that's our triangle, and if we look, that is not the majority. The majority is going to be this star guy here, which is 115 to 130. So we can get rid of C, and by default, our answer is going to be D, but let's just go ahead and double check. It says most turbines in 2011 had rotor diameters less than 100 meters. If we go here, we can see that that's true. Again, our majority is this square. The square is indeed less than 100 meters. The second claim was turbines in 2021 had root diameters also true. We can see that less than 100 meters has dropped to 0, and we barely have any of these guys that are under 115. So indeed, like it's saying, most turbines in 2021 had rotor diameters of at least 115 meters. So right there, really good example of when you do need to use the L in feel. All right, let's see if we can feel our way through a hard question. Round 3. All right, here's the hard question. If you wanted to go ahead and try to do it on your own first, pause the video, but let's get into the strategy. I'm going to say goodbye to this graph and get started with figuring out if I'm supposed to support or weaken the hypothesis. And we have our first example of weakening the hypothesis. So then what is the hypothesis? I'm going to work backwards because the hypothesis does tend to be towards the end. In this case, I'm skimming, and it actually breaks that rule. It comes in the second sentence. Hypothesize municipalities are much more likely to respond. All right, so more likely respond to firms and offer incentives if expansions can be announced in time to benefit local elected officials than if they can't. All right, so moving on to expressing things in my own words, I'm going to say announced on time means more response and incentives. So this one, I'm really just honing in on some of the key words there. And if I need to clarify, once I start reading the answer choices, then I'll clarify, but let's see if this works for now. Okay. Going on to eliminate. A large majority that received an inquiry mentioning plans for an announcement before the next election didn't respond. Okay, so we have before the next election, which we can infer is, on time. So A would work to weaken the hypothesis because if they didn't respond to the inquiry, then that would go against more responses for announcing on time. However, it doesn't mention anything about incentives. It only mentions responding. So we're going to get rid of A for that reason. B says the proportion that responded or offered incentives, so this time we have both, responded or offered incentives, didn't substantially differ across announcement timing conditions. Okay, so that's straight up saying it didn't matter if they announced on time, the inquiries and incentives had no correlation with that. So that actually matches, again, if we're trying to weaken that hypothesis. So I'm going to keep B. C says only around half that responded offered incentives. This one is tricky because it's mentioning response and it's mentioning incentives and it's talking about on time. However, this is not showing us that they were less likely to respond or offer incentives in general if they got the announcement in time. It's taking a subset and saying of those who responded. So it is not directly matching that hypothesis and weakening it like we want. And then finally, D, of those who received an inquiry mentioning plans for an announcement date after. Okay, so this one would be like not on time. More than 1,200 didn't respond and only 100 offered incentives. So this is the opposite of what we're looking for. This would support the idea. It's saying if you're late, you get fewer responses, you get fewer incentives. So D is out and B is going to be our answer. And pretty cool thing, even though that was the hard question, we didn't have to look at the graph.
I love lamp. I love lamp.
Round 1. The L in lamp stands for last sentence. We're going to start with the last sentence of the paragraph. Here we have, hence, the pay. As you wish model may blank. So, why did we just look at the last sentence? Because our next step is to assess the passage based on the sentence. And the reason I'm saying assess instead of read is a lot of these we don't need to read the whole passage, and I want to save you as much time as possible. So what am I looking for? Next step is to assess the passage based on the sentence. And the reason I'm saying assess instead of read is a lot of these we don't need to read the whole passage, and I want to save you as much time as possible. So what am I looking for? I'm definitely looking for keywords like hence. Hence means therefore. It is a cause and effect transition word, which tells me the information that I need is probably going to be in the one or two sentences right before this, because it's saying, therefore, the pay-as-you-wish model may blank. This sentence is starting with a but, so I do want to go back one more sentence possibly. We get only about 1% opted to pay for the album, resulting in earnings below expectations. But they also discuss this other guy who saw significant earnings from Pay As You Wish. So, just from that, I'm seeing we've got one person who made less money because of Pay As You Wish, and we've got another person who made more. So, the Pay As You Wish model may, and now I'm going to do the M in LAMP, which is make a prediction. I'm going to make a prediction that the Pay As You Wish model might help you make more money, or it might cause you to not make as much money. That seems to be what's happening here, right? And then finally, the P is going to be to purge answers that do not match your prediction. There's a little vocabulary word for you. Let's go ahead and do that last step. So A, prove financial success for some musicians but disappointing for others. That's literally what I just said, so that's probably my answer. B, hold greater financial appeal for bands than, nope. C, cause most musicians who use the model to lower the suggested price. Nope. D, more strongly reflect differences in certain. Nope. Yeah, so just like that, using the LAMP method, I've gotten one correct answer. Now, this was an easy question, but let's move on to a medium question and see how the strategy holds up.
Okay.
Alright, definitely pause the video, see if you
Okay, which one is the which one? The one is the on the idea. However, a good or personally review handles of the field and found that movements from the lemons feature on the display of the video more than 2 times before as the gun the back stands out on the idea that someone noted the band photos were the major photos of the attention tired and the practice which is the original everyday dash even habit and the practice which are called the house for dash this in the practice the reputations specifications of everyday dashing habit. Okay. Found the lemon? No, I don't think like B, not A. Nothing. Mm. Oh, features in. Oh my god. This dash paintings of PDF. So dash painting is more important than this. Mm-hmm. See.
You can do this one on your own first, using that lamp method, of course, but let's go ahead and get into it. So our last sentence, pretty long one here, is going to start from however. However, a group of researchers recently reviewed hundreds of food-related paintings that found lemons, which could only be acquired in the Netherlands, feature in Dutch paintings more than 3 times as frequently as dairy products do, thereby casting doubt on the idea that blank. Okay, keyword here is however, so I do need to go back and at least look at the sentence before. Some art historians, noting that dairy products were a major component in the Dutch diet, interpret these depictions as reflections of everyday Dutch eating habits.
Mm-hmm.
This one also says these depictions, so I know I'm going to go backwards again. What depictions? Tables filled with large wheels of cheese or carved shards of butter. Okay, so now I have a pretty good understanding. And for this one, I did end up reading the whole thing, but I knew what I was looking for the whole time, which is really helpful. I'm trying to figure out what idea we're going to cast doubt on. And what I've gathered is historians thought that these tables filled with large wheels of cheese were reflections of everyday eating habits, but we also see that there's a ton of lemons, which are not easy to get a hold of, so that doesn't make sense. So I think it casts doubt on the idea that this art actually depicted everyday Dutch eating habits. So that's what my prediction is. That's the M. Remember, make a prediction. Let's go ahead and purge answers that do not match that prediction. Dairy products were a more significant component than lemons. Nope. Food was more popular. Nope. Depictions of food should not be taken as realistic. Yes, that's exactly my prediction. And honestly, I would probably just circle this and be done with it. But if you weren't feeling confident, you definitely want to eliminate all your answers. Dutch painters may have depicted foods for symbolic reasons. No. So there you go. The lamp method is still holding up. Let's see if it can hold up to a hard question. Round 3. All right, we've got a hard question here. Again, I encourage you to pop.
Okay, let me try here. Therefore, for rays to remain available alternative to the short of light. Okay. Only the model set. Lonely time. Okay, however, our point were faster than feedback ultra of lead time for situation. The distance so short, but the same amount of time by else and by ways. However, this model set as a way specific approach to have the limit long lead time amount. Therefore, for way to remain available alternative short flight. Oh, got it. Long lead time amount. Okay, should offer viewers a long. No. Maybe the speculation tree. No. No. This is a photo of the literally accept a lead time was similar. Ah. However, the long lead time. Oh yeah. Hmm. Mm-hmm. It only on D.
Pause the video, see if the lamp works for you. I'm gonna see if it works for me. Last sentence. Therefore, for a rail to remain viable alternative to short haul flights. Okay, right off the bat, I've got this word therefore, which means cause and effect. So I'm gonna go backwards. However, the model suggests that as rail passenger volumes approach current capacity limits, long lead times emerge. All right, and this one starts with however, so I know I'm going to have to go backwards again. Planes travel faster than trains, but air travel typically requires 3 hours of lead time for security, baggage handling, and boarding that rail travel doesn't. So short haul routes take similar amounts of time by air and by rail. Okay, so I feel like I've got enough information here. Basically, it's saying if you're traveling a shorter distance, you end up spending just as much time by train because of all this lead time, they're calling it. But then it says as capacity limits increase, specifically for trains, you get these longer lead times. So for rail to remain viable, I'm going to say they need to do something about capacity limits. So they need to either have like bigger trains or more trains available, something like that would be my prediction. Let's go and purge our answers. And yeah, we're eliminating, we're crossing out. I chose purge because I love lamp. I wanted lamp. All right, rail systems should offer fewer long-haul routes, and airlines should offer more long-haul routes. No, that's not going to help with capacity limits. And also, we're focusing on rail. We're focusing on the trains, right? We don't care about the airlines. Rail systems may need to schedule additional trains for these routes. Yeah, that could totally work. It says may need, and I like the language here, because if it said they need to, that would be way too confident. But by saying may need to, we're making a little inference here. This is an inference question. C, security baggage handling and boarding procedures may need to be implemented for rail. No, that would make it even worse. D, passengers who travel by rail will need to accept that lead times will be similar. No, it's not on the passengers. We're trying to see what rail systems can do to remain viable. We can't just assume that passengers are going to change their minds. So we got our answer, B. If you guys are interested in more math related hacks, let me know in the comments, and if you want some free practice materials, go ahead and use the link in the description. In this video, we're going to cover everything you need to know about verb tense on the SAT, starting with how to spot verb tense questions. The first thing you always want to do when you notice verbs as your answer choices is the odd verb out trick. This is going to tell you whether or not you're dealing with subject-verb agreement or verb tense. In this question, for example, we take a look, we see that we do indeed have verbs as our answer choices. And the odd verb out trick is simply going to be either matching these up with they or matching them up with he or she. So we would say, they are, they were, they have been, but we would say, she is. So the odd verb out is because it's the only one that works with she. Everything else would work with they. And if this trick doesn't work, then you are dealing with verb tense. All right, now that we've got that covered, let's talk about the rules. Starting with number 1, use the simple present tense for general facts or habits. This question right here is a great example of a habit. So let's quickly read through this. Since the fall of the Galactic Empire, many outer rim settlements have developed new systems of local governance. On the fall, for instance, the re-established Planetary Council regularly blank. So, big clue here is regularly. Regularly means something that happens over and over again, aka a habit. So we want to use the simple present tense. Measures. Regularly measures matters of trade, defense, and interplanetary relations. And the cool thing about this is you might be a little bit tricked because we have the present perfect tense here, right? Have developed. So this might cause you to try and use, either would have measured or will have been measuring. using that same have, or even going with the past perfect tense, but in fact we do want to just go with the simple present tense, again because it is current and it is a habit that is current. This would be another thing that happens. Habit. So the rules, starting with number 1, use the simple present tense for tense. To try and use, either would have. This would be another example of when you want to use the simple present tense, but rather than a habit, we have a fact. You want to use the simple present tense for facts, as long as those facts remain true today, I should say. Before we go over this one, though, let me just real quick show you how the odd verb out trick is going to fail when you do have a verb tense question. So if I said, he facilitates, he had facilitated, but I could also say they had facilitated. So as soon as he and they, or she and they, both work for an answer, you know that the odd verb out trick is not going to work and you're dealing with verb tense. So we have across many systems, independent medical stations rely on Bacta, a healing compound derived from a rare algae because it blank. So it's telling us it does this thing. We also have the clue of, simple present tense rely, but it facilitates regeneration. This is a fact. There's no reason to complicate things, so we're just going to go with simple present tense facilitates.
Okay.
Rule number 2, use the simple past tense to narrate completed past events. And
Oh my god.
past
Let me
tense
take a
to
note.
narrate completed past events. And yes, you're definitely going to need to rely on context to know that we are indeed talking about something from the past. So in this question, for example, we get long before Frodo's journey. So already we know we're in the past because before. The elven smith Celebrimbor secretly forged 3 rings of power without Sauron's guidance. We also see the simple past tense here. He then blank them to the wisest of his kind. So we know that this is something that is completed from the past. So we're going to go with the simple past tense entrusted. Rule number 3 is to use the past perfect tense for earlier past actions. That is
I think like for the tenses, I really feel that I can do the best. In reality, I didn't get a time to take it.
to say you're talking about an action that happened in the past before another action that happened in the past.
Yeah.
I'll show you what I mean. So in this question, we actually get a really similar starting question stem, right? Long before. Same thing as the last question. But let's see how it's different from the last question. Long before Aang awoke from the iceberg and began his journey to master the elements, members of the White Lotus, believing the Avatar cycle was lost, and let's just go ahead and use best practices. We've got some non-essential information here, so let's eliminate that to make things a little bit easier. So if you remember the last question, we had sort of a sequence of events. We had long before this, such and such happened, and then, so it was a sequence of events, so we wanted to stay in the simple past tense. But here it's saying, long before Aang awoke from the iceberg and began his journey to master the elements, members of the White Lotus blank. So this is something that happened before this other thing happened, which means we could definitely use the past perfect tense, which is going to be had launched. And in case you're wondering, could we also use the simple past tense launched? You could. You could use the simple past tense here, but the SAT is never going to give you 2 options that are correct. So in this case,
Not
you
like
don't have to worry
GED.
about that, right?
I'm
Only
not
viable options,
100%.
choice B. Rule number 4 is to simply use the future tense for things that will happen in the future. to simply use the future tense for things that will happen in the future. I do think these are pretty straightforward, but basically there's going to be some context clue telling you that we're referring to the future, and we're going to choose the future tense. You can choose electric sacks store enough power to short circuit small machinery, a trait researchers have been studying for years. So here's a little bit of trickery because we have the past perfect continuous tense, but then it says you blank more in the next section. So this in the next section is telling you that this is going to happen in the future. We're sort of reading some sort of a history book about Pikachu or a science book about Pikachu. So if we're going to go to the next section, that's not going to happen until the future. So in that case, it would be you will learn more about this in the next section. So when you're looking for context clues, be careful not to just focus on verbs. Sometimes you'll find like a prepositional phrase like this one that gives you the clue that you're looking for, telling you where you really should be. Rule number 5 is to use the infinitive for purpose or goals. Let's take a look at this one, for example. We have in The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, author Suzanne Collins introduces a young Coriolanus Snow as a mentor in the Hunger Games. Blank the origins of his ruthless ideology. So these questions, if you're a native speaker of English especially, you should be able to just fill in the blank and you're going to be able to tell out loud which one is correct. But if you are not a native speaker of English, or for some reason this concept just confuses you, try to remember what I just said, that the infinitive is going to be used for purpose or for goals. So, the infinitive is going to be, to verbs, so to reveal in this case. And we do have a goal. The goal is she introduces him because she wants to reveal the origins of his ruthless ideology. So that is the purpose or the goal for her introducing him. So then we get, she introduces him to reveal the origins of his ruthless ideology. Rule number 6 is to use the present perfect tense to describe things that started in the past and have continued until now.
I mean,
that started
for
in the past
this thing,
and
it's kind of the normal for this one. And then I will also review for these videos is really affected or like no, and I'm I'm
have
absolutely
continued until
recommend
now.
these videos for the SAT students, even though I haven't finished taking their SAT, but yeah, I will review it, and also like I will also mention it. What are the things are really affected, and what are the things are just normal, and then that is nothing. It is useless. Okay. Okay.
And you notice I just used it, have continued until now. So looking at this question, we have, since the mysterious incident at Hawkins National Library in the early 1980s, local residents blank unexplained phenomena ranging from flickering lights to sightings of creatures believed to originate from an alternate dimension. So we have the word since, which is the big giveaway that whatever action occurred, it has occurred until now. That's what since means, right? It has been happening since the mysterious incident at Hawkins National Library. So this is a key clue here. And then our verb is reported. So since the subject is local residents plural, rather than saying has reported, we would say have reported. So choice C is our answer here. And again, this is something that has happened since the mysterious incident at Hawkins National Library, and it continues until today. That's why we go with the present perfect tense. And finally, rule number 7 is to use the base verb, that is just your standard unmodified version of the verb after the word would.
Yeah, base first.
Standard unmodified version of the verb after the word. Would, could, or any other modal or helping verb. In our example here, we see, to shield Hyrule from Ganon's advancing forces, the sages channeled their power into a magical seal that, if broken, would unleash chaos. And so we have our modal verb would, also known as a helping verb, would unleash and would disrupt. We're going to use would for not just this verb, but the verb that follows. Basically, it gets to command all of the verbs in a compound list of verbs. So choice B is going to be our answer.
Yeah.
What you just learned is just a small sliver of what I teach in my full English bundle. These 3 courses are designed to teach you everything you need to know to get a perfect 800 in the English section. They also include access to over 500 original practice questions. I'll go ahead and leave a discount for you in the description of this video. I've compiled 35 hard English questions to help you boost your score on the upcoming SAT. You won't find these questions on the College Board practice exams, so there's no spoilers. And I made sure to include every single type of question you're going to run into in the English section. Let's get started. Alright, this should go without saying, but please pause the video and try each question on your own first. That's how you're going to get the most value out of this.
Oh, so for others, I think for other 2 hours that we will try for the practice. Right. Let me write at my MacBook. Okay. I'm gonna try each question on my own first. Okay. Wait, what is the test? No. Let's walk again.
But let's go and get started. So we've got words in context, and I'm just going to pay attention to the context and come up with a prediction. So, given that conditions in binary star systems should make planetary formation nearly impossible, it's not surprising that the existence of planets in such systems has lacked blank explanation. So if planetary formation is nearly impossible, that's some pretty good context saying that the existence of planets would lack a clear explanation, so I'm going to say clear. And I'm actually not going to read the rest of this because I don't feel like I need it, at least not for the time being. Discernible does kind of mean clear. It means that you can understand it. Straightforward also means clear, so I would keep that one as well. Inconclusive does not work. Unbiased does not work. And then between discernible and straightforward, when I said clear, I did mean a straightforward explanation. A discernible basically means like comprehensible, understandable, which is not exactly what I meant. So my answer here is going to be B.
Yeah.
All right, same thing. Pause the video, try it on your own first. This is the last time I will remind you.
Okay. Okay. No hypothesis. Collaborations. Okay, anomaly. Affinity, not affinities, not hypothesis. Yeah, we'll see index.
While most animals are incapable of passing somatic mutations, and I'm going to kind of ignore the non-essential information there, off to their offspring, elk horn coral presents an intriguing blank. And then I get a colon. So this colon is telling me that whatever comes after the colon is an example of what should be in the blank space. So I really do want to read this. In this study, researchers found that elkhorn coral produced offspring that inherited somatic mutations from a parent. So if the first sentence is telling us that most animals are incapable, but then we get this intriguing blank where elkhorn coral do inherit some of the mutations from their parent, that would be like an exception. So I'm going to say an intriguing exception. Hypothesis does not match. Affinity does not match. Anomaly is exactly what I'm looking for. I'm not even going to worry about the rest here because that is pretty much a one-for-one match with what I said. All right, some foraging models predict that distance bees travel when foraging will...
Okay, let me. So for bees, you want to project the distant bee travel. So for bees will decline. Almost for bees distance the flow doesn't increase. And then bee travel, the rules inconsistent. Okay, but their prediction if flower bees of experience low space of bees to acquire many resources. So I already seen this one. Think so. Ensure the biggest misses of a British if flower in. Maybe this will be. Okay, let me watch. For this is the increase, for this will decline. I think B think so.
decline as floral density increases, but these guys showed that bee behavior is inconsistent with this prediction if flowers and dense patches are blank. And again, we have a colon, so I really want to make sure that I look at this because it's going to be an example probably of what's here. Bees will forage beyond patches of low species richness to acquire multiple resource types. So if the flowers are blank, low species richness, so that's kind of the phrase that I'm trying to match. And with these, you're always looking for specific words or phrases that you can match with. So my prediction would be, let's see, what's low species richness? I'll just say all the same. You don't necessarily need to have a single word as your prediction, right? So all the same. Depleted, no. Homogeneous means all the same. We're good. All right, number 4. The following is from a 1910 poem. In the poem, the speaker...
Let me hear. Okay. Main purpose. Okay. No.
is addressing this guy who's a black author. So don't skip the beginning. The first part where it tells you who wrote it and the year is not usually as important, but the context can sometimes be really important. And we're looking for main purpose here.
Mm-hmm.
With main purpose, it's going to be kind of like main idea, except for a little bit more vague. Think more, what is the text doing rather than what is the text about. So, thou, that means you, with stroke of mighty pen, hast hold of joy and mirth, and read the hearts and souls of men, as cradled from the birth. The language of the flowers, thou hast read them all, and in the little brook responded to thy call. So my prediction here, since I know that it's to this author, it seems like the poem just has some nice things to say about the author, like being able to relate to people with their literature. So my prediction is going to be just like saying nice things about this author. So A, to praise a certain writer for being especially perceptive regarding people nature, that matches what I was saying. To establish that a certain writer has read extensively.
No.
That's part of it, but that's not what I said. That's more like a detail. Call attention, a certain writer's careful and elaborately detailed writing process. That doesn't really talk about how it was relating to people. Because, read the hearts and souls of men, that's relating to people. To recount fond memories of an afternoon spent. No, there's no indication that the speaker actually knew the author, so yeah, A is our answer here. All right, we've got main idea this time, so now we do want to know what the text is about. So you'll see how that's a little bit different from the main purpose.
Okay. There's a main idea. So for the main idea, I can watch the last one. No. And it will be A.
Following text is adapted. Poem is addressed to a close friend as if he were physically present. So, weary with toil, I hurry to my bed. The dear repose for limbs with travel tired. But then begins a journey in my head to work my mind when body's works expired. For what then my thoughts, from far where I abide, begin a zealous pilgrimage to thee, and keep my drooping eyelids open wide. So this is tough because there's a lot of complex language. So let's unpack a little bit of this. Weary with toil. So toil is work. I'm tired. I've been working. Kind of goes into detail about that. But then begins a journey in my head to work my mind. So even though his body is tired, body's work expired, but then my mind is doing work. For then my thoughts begin a pilgrimage to thee. Thee means you. So basically, I'm trying to go to sleep. I'm super tired, but I'm thinking about you, and I can't go to sleep because I'm thinking about you. That's going to be my prediction. So the speaker is asleep? No, the speaker can't sleep. The speaker is planning a trip? No. The speaker is too fatigued to continue discussion? No, the friend's not actually there. The speaker is thinking about the friend instead of immediately falling asleep? Boom. Yes.
Oh, yeah, a little
Thinking
bit.
about the
Immediately fall asleep. Oh, got it.
friend instead of immediately falling asleep? Boom. Yes. Alright. This is going to be logically completes the text, which would be an inference.
Let me a little bit draw.
So we've got, with its cliche,
Literally.
okay. So if by the natural environment, again, it doesn't really go if it compares trees to people. Off of the first phrase, the main idea would be that set of is in bits is false and grammar. Here you can see that we do indeed have Nakalembe doesn't. First, let's talk about strategy for these. I recommend a quick 3-step strategy. The first step being to analyze the text, and as you're analyzing, you are looking for context and answer. You're gonna, the English sections, you've obviously got words in context. You're gonna come across some words that you don't know, and I'd like to teach you when you would actually end up choosing one of those unknown words as an answer. Alright? So first let's talk about strategy for these. I recommend a quick 3-step strategy. The first step being to analyze the text, and as you're analyzing, you are looking for context. You're trying to figure out what but context goes, because hope out loud and sort of using the word context here, and there's just so that which leads it is singular because the animal is singular, and definition for efficient. Got rid of all because we should be answering 95. I already know that that's not going to work because we only have 1 year. Same rate of country, but 75. And these questions are actually really easy if you know how to of the text. Kind of presents conflicting theories. No, it does not. C, the text discusses several notable researchers.
I
No,
got
it
it
does
like
not.
a lot of
This
notes.
might be a distractor answer because we do get a couple of different pieces of research, but it doesn't talk about different researchers, and order matters. That's not the first thing that we get, so C doesn't work. The text identifies a problem with migration patterns. It's not a problem, it's just a thing that's happening. So without even reading the second half of my answers, I already know it's A, but then yeah, it provides specific evidence to explain how it occurs. That goes along with my other prediction, right? Up next, comma splices. And these are probably the most common type of error that shows up in the answer choices for boundaries questions. And what a comma splice is when a comma is trying to act like a period. That is to say, trying to separate two independent clauses, which it is not allowed to do. So, for example, on this question, and I sort of gave away the answer, or at least I gave away one of the wrong answers already. If we look at B, there's a comma here, right? So starting from the beginning, we've got, on windy nights, unsecured patio furniture can slide across decks or sidewalks, creating hazards and damaging surfaces. Boom, that's the end of an independent clause, right? Placing heavy sandbags or using anchoring straps, we could ignore the non-essential information here, can help prevent these problems. That's also an independent clause. So what we need is a period or a semicolon, because both of those things are allowed to separate independent clauses. This would be a comma splice, because again, we can't use a comma to separate two independent clauses, so we would eliminate choice B. And I know what you might be thinking, what the heck, man, we have a period and we have a semicolon, but notice the word by gets added here. Believe it or not, we could also use a dash to separate two independent clauses, but again, by is ruining this and making it so it is no longer independent, because then it would read, by placing heavy sandbags or using anchoring straps can help prevent these problems. We've got an issue, right? So A and D aren't going to work, and it's going to have to be choice C, just the period. My next prediction is going to be subject-verb agreement questions. And I would argue that these questions, at least up until this point, have been the easiest questions on the SAT because we don't even have to read the passage. All we have to do is use the odd verb out trick. The odd verb out trick is which of these we can, which is right, verb out, and the, even though, I'm going to go ahead and read this whole thing. We need colons. All right, my brown pants. Use commas, comma, I don't have to read it, right? It's to introduce lists, but that's not all they do. In this case, I would say the colon is resolving a cliffhanger, which is another thing that colons are allowed to do. And of course, I do break down everything that colons do in detail in my punctuation and grammar course. And speaking of which, those strategies we just went over make up just a tiny sliver of what I offer in my full English bundle. The 3 courses included give you every strategy that you need to get a perfect 800 in the English section, and they also include access to over 500 original practice questions. If you're serious about getting your highest possible score in the English section, I'll go ahead and leave you a discount in the description of this video.
Okay, so here
SAT
I
reading
got
question.
it. This one is like like there is for extra 2 hours, not for the strategies and not for the method. He mentioned some of the tests, and then he also explained about it, and he also give like the details techniques or like predicals when. It's not kind of method, but it's also giving the practical one. So I think I should watch, but after I finish all the things and all the tests that is related, with the SAT English currently. So yeah, after doing the test, I'm like checking my Sam's project tests on Blue Book, and also like checking uh some I mean like not checking, so doing the revisions or revisings or reviewings. Yeah, it's for me reviewings. Oh, mine some like kind of finished test, and I didn't review it yet. So after finish all, I will come back this one. So that will be the 4 hour to mention and to tell, and then he will speak out and he will explain about the method. That's really beautiful, and yeah, beautiful. I want to say beautiful and really useful for me. Okay, so bye bye guys, and it's all over 5 a.m. So guys, see you tomorrow. Yeah.